over to you, ma'am. And I will just display the slides right away. And here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Very good morning to each and everyone. Thank you, Shashi. Thank you, Siddharth. And I think you made a very good start by asking the viewers to name some of the emotions. Now, emotional intelligence is all a game of emotions only. So now, so far we've been talking a lot about the IQs, the intelligence, academic intelligence, and all that. But we find very few people talking about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence has not been given much importance. Only the academic intelligence has been given importance so far. For last decades, so many decades, and till date, we give importance to the emotional, to the academic intelligence. How many? What is the percentage of the child? What is the academic achievement? All these things have been very important. Although it is desirable, it is very important, but emotional intelligence is equally, I would say, more important than IQ. We see so many people, you know, successful people reaching heights and all that. So many successful people are there. Some people are there with minimal of IQ, and you may find, but still they are very successful. They are toppers, but they don't get the jobs and they don't get well into their careers. What is the reason? Because they may be low on their emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence plays a very important and vital role. Now this term was coined by Selvavi and Mayer, but it was popularized by Goldman in 1995. So three terms are very important in this: IQ, EQ, and EI. Now, IQ we all know, intelligence, and IQ is derived by the formula is MA upon CA into 100. MA is your mental age, and CA is your chronological age, which means what your actual age is, and then multiply that by 100. That gives you your IQ. Normal IQ is between 90 to 110. Then we have EQ, which we are going to tell you emotional quotient, how we derive emotional quotient. And EI is the emotional intelligence that we are talking about. These are the various terms. Now, we all say that even when we talk about the fitness level, we say that fitness, when we are fit, nutrition plays some role, exercises play some role. Next slide, please. Yeah. So what is the proportion of these roles? Now, some people say that nutrition is more important. Some say that exercise is more important. Similarly, heredity, environment. Here also, we see that most of the people say that it is only 20% IQ which contributes to success in life, and 80% is the EQ, which makes us more successful in life. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah. Yeah. So what is success? Is it the exams that you have passed? Is it the competitions that you have cleared? Or is it the percentage of marks in schools and colleges or academic qualification? Or success is earning fat salary, top positions in workplace, being rich and wealthy, powerful, dominating, being influential. Now, word success is actually a relative term. Living a healthy and happy married life may be an indicator of success for some. Now, reaching a top position in career may be an indicator of success for others. For some, job life or personal satisfaction may be an indicator of success. Only the tangible achievements may not be the indicators of success in life. Many a times, non-tangible performances or achievements may be also be termed as successful. Yeah, next please. So what do you think now? Are you emotionally intelligent, or you still think IQ matters more than EQ? So it is up to you. Some people say 50-50. It is 50% emotional intelligence and 50 percent IQ, what makes you successful. So we have different opinions on that. So you can decide what it is. And it is sometimes it is a good combination of emotional intelligence as well as IQ. Yeah, next please. Now, these are some of the definitions. I'll run through the definitions. Now, emotional intelligence is the ability to use your understanding of emotions. As I said, it is all a game of emotions in yourself and others, and to deal effectively with people and problems in a way which reduces anger, hostility, develops collaborative effort, enhances life balance, and produces creative energy. Which means that we need to understand emotions in ourselves and in others as well, and to deal with the emotions in difficult situations. How we manage those emotions is more important. Yeah. And emotional intelligence refers to the ability that one requires for efficient living. So this is very, very important, how you manage your emotions in daily life. So this is so important. Yeah, next please. Now here are some of the pictures which are used to demonstrate emotional intelligence.
Yeah. So while we were putting up, some of the pictures there, ma'am, this morning I just felt, hey, instead of putting pictures of people who probably have high or we think have high emotional intelligence, I would actually take a moment and ask the audience to reflect on people whom they know in their own life, who they feel are very emotionally intelligent. All right, take a moment and write down a few names there, right? And we can always talk about people like Mother Teresa and names like Ratan Tata and so on that come up. Could be some people, there would be political implications of some of those faces. So I felt, why don't you think of people who you think have been very emotionally intelligent in your own life. Yeah, take a moment and write down those names while ma'am and I go to the next slide. Ma'am, over to you. Ma'am? Surabhi, ma'am? Hello? You're on mute, ma'am.
Okay.
Back to you, ma'am.
Now this is a definition given by Goldman. The capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of the others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. Now, emotional intelligence describes abilities distinct from but complementing to academic intelligence, which means that we need to recognize our own feelings, we need to recognize the feelings of others, we need to motivate ourselves, and of course, handle relationship. All these dimensions of emotional intelligence you can see come in one definition given by Daniel Goleman. And I will show you the, see, here is the famous book by Goleman. You all must go through this book. This is a book by Goleman on emotional intelligence. Yeah, next slide, please. Now, here are some of the examples we use for emotions. How do we define emotions? What is emotion? Uh, we may often find people saying she's too sensitive. He takes everything too personally. He is jealous of his colleagues. My boss is always in a hostile mood. So, hostile, jealous, all these are examples of emotions. He is always nagging others. The HOD blurts things out without thinking of others. Nobody understands or listens to me. The management is way out of touch with employee emotion. Why does it happen with me only in life? I'm always nice with people around me. So these are some of the examples of emotions. Yeah. Next, please. Now, as I said, these components of emotional intelligence have already been given in the definition given by Goldman. So basically, there are 5 components of emotional intelligence as given by Goldman: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, in this instrument, as I said, every instrument is based on some theory. Now, this instrument on emotional intelligence is based on the theory given by Goleman. In this instrument, we have added one more dimension, that is internality and optimism. Yeah, besides these 5 dimensions. Yeah, next please. So he calls it emotional competence also. Now, in total, there are 25 dimensions given in these 5 aspects, personal and social. Personal has 3 aspects and social has 2. Now, self-awareness, regulation, and motivation, whereas social competence has empathy and social skills. Yeah, next please. But we have different dimensions in these, comprising of 25 competencies. Now, these are some of the examples which studies I've collected. One study is of 80 PhDs in science who underwent a battery of personality tests, IQ tests, and interviews in 1950s when they were graduate students in Berkeley. 40 years later, when they were in their early 70s, they were tracked down and estimates were made of their successes based on their resumes, evaluations, experts in their fields. It turned out that social and emotional abilities were 4 times more important than the IQ in establishing professional success and prestige. Now, so you can see EQ is so important. After studying 60 IS officers of Assam cadre, it was found that 77% of them fall in the category of average EQ, whereas 15% show high IQ. This is another study. Another study is on the insurance companies, which found that insurance salesperson who were optimists sold 97% more insurance policies in their first 2 years than did pessimists. And then another study on burnout, which says that managers high on EQ are low on burnout, implying that they can cope up better with stress. Yeah. Let me tell you that today these insurance companies are using instruments on optimism to recruit people, new people, because people who are on high on optimism are recruited for the jobs like insurance. Yeah. Next, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly jump in here.
Yeah.
For those of us who are in the corporate space, this is a very wonderful and powerful instrument that ma'am has been a part of developing, right? I mean, if those of you who have this book, training instruments in HRD and OD, would find this instrument on page 132. I mean, I've gone through it so many times over the last 24 hours that kind of the page number has kind of stuck in there. And those of you who don't have the book, you can probably pick up one. Of course, we are not trying to sell the book, but then it's a very useful book to have handy. So if you go over this book, you'd find that the authors, including ma'am, have taken great pains to look at 5 different dimensions. We'll come to each of those dimensions, but then these seem to have a very clear linkage to work performance, right? And that's a wonderful thing for all the practitioners out there. And even consultants, I would say, where, if you are going to be working with someone who has, let's say in your business unit as a HR person, if you have someone with fairly low emotional intelligence and that's kind of not really helping their cause, this is an instrument that you can really use with them, because these 2-3 studies that ma'am has shown here in this slide, are indicating a clear linkage to performance aspects. Right? That was the little message that I wanted to jump in and give. As always, thank you, ma'am, for the space. Yeah. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Siddharth. Now, this is the first aspect, that is self-awareness, which is important. I'll just brief you on self-awareness, because since we are already running short of time, then you can go through the slides, but I'll explain in brief. Now, self-awareness is about yourself, how well you understand yourself, how well you understand your emotions, and how, because once you understand your emotions, you will be able to recognize others' emotions also. And before speaking anything, one can really see what effect is it going to make on the other person. So one can really be conscious about it. So recognizing one's emotions is very important. Sometimes we are not able to name our emotions. Sometimes we feel depressed during the daytime. So what is happening? I don't know what is happening to me, but I'm not feeling well. So how well are we able to name our emotions? So this is very important, that we should be able to name our emotions. Like in the beginning, so many of you um, uh, talked about emotions: anger, hostility, compassion, jealousy, um, love. All these are different emotions that we display in our life. Now, self-assessment should be very accurate, which means that one should know his own strengths and weaknesses so he can make proper use of his strengths. Now, once a person knows his own self, one should be able to accept himself as he is. So this is going to give him a lot of self-confidence. Yeah. Now, the just how self-aware people are. The self-aware people openly acknowledge their shortcomings. They see to it that work is done well in advance, as tight deadlines bring the worst in him. So, and decisions. If you are self-aware about yourself, you know yourself very well. You know your personality. You know your attitudes. You know your opinions very, very well. You will be able to take decisions in a very well manner. Yeah. Next, please. Second, after self-awareness, we come. That is about understanding your emotions. This is how well we manage our emotions. This is also very important. So we should be able to control our emotions, keep disruptive emotions and impulses in check. So that is controlling our emotions. It is trustworthiness, maintaining standards of honesty and integrity and conscientiousness. We take the responsibility for personal performance. Yeah, next please. And flexibility in handling change. How do we handle various situations? How do we manage our emotions? So this is important. Yeah, next please. And if we can really manage our emotions very well, we are very innovative also. We are comfortable with the novel ideas. We easily accept the novel ideas by others also. It is not only that you have the innovative ideas, but we should be flexible enough to accept the ideas from others. Yeah, next please. Now, some examples of self-regulation. A manager in a multinational company had used software for many years. Management decides to install a new software for high productivity. Employees willingly undergoes training to learn use of new software. So here is his flexibility. There is no protest or murmur. People with self-regulation will not pad up their expenses accounts, pay bills, or abuse power as they see their long-term interests and not short-term gain, which means honesty and integrity is also there in self-regulation. I'll give you another example of a sales girl who used to ruminate a lot. You know what is rumination? Brooding over things. Um, thinking about bad miseries, thinking about bad things. So she used to ruminate a lot about her sales. And as a result, her sales went down and she was a lot depressed. And she would always complain about her depression, about the sales being down. And somebody, then she took counseling and she went into consultancy process and all that. Once she stopped that and she became happy, the sales also went up. So it is a kind of self-regulation, how really we can keep a check on our emotions. This is very, very important, because sometimes in this process we may even hurt others. We don't even think what we are saying, and we are not able to control our emotions. This is so important. Yeah, next please. Motivation, a very, very important aspect of emotional intelligence. And I think we all need to be motivated internally, I would say, rather than externally. Achievement drive is one dimension of motivation, which is a strive to improve or meet a standard of excellence. This is beyond your monetary benefits. We want to do something beyond the monetary benefits or tangible, objects. Another thing is commitment. We are committed to our goals. Then initiative. We look for opportunities and we take initiative for new situations, or wherever we get an opportunity, we are ready to take the initiative. Yeah, next please. And optimism is one important dimension of motivation. Optimism actually means persistence in pursuing goals despite obstacles and setbacks. You keep pursuing your goal. You, even if you have the setbacks, you are not depressed, you are not disappointed. You stand up again, you start pursuing your goal. This is optimism. We have another dimension we have added in this instrument also, optimism and internality. Yeah, next please. This is an example of motivation. A portfolio manager at an investment company sees his fund tumble for 3 consecutive quarters. Instead of blaming external factors, she decides to learn from the experiences and engineers a turnaround. First SLB mission of India was a failure. The project director studied the reason for failure, and next mission was a success. So this is how we are motivated to uh, succeed in life. So this is a satellite launch vehicle. Yeah. I'll give you another example of motivation, which is very very important. Very important experiment also done on 4-year-olds. There was uh, an experimenter who took 4-year-olds and conducted an. He took about I think there were about 40 4-year-olds, and he said, I'm going for an errand, for going to do some job, and I'll provide you with one chocolate if you immediately want the chocolate, and if you wait for 20 minutes till I come back after completing my work, I'll give you 2 chocolates. So for a 4-year-old, very very difficult task to wait for 2 chocolates. And now some people, some children, these 4-year-olds opted for one chocolate, said we immediately want it, and they took it. I think about, let's say, 70% of the children, or rather 80%. And there were about 20% children who said, we'll take two. And the experimenter went out of the room without giving the chocolate. He said, when I come back, I'll give you 2 chocolates. And those 20 minutes seemed to be like ages for those 4-year-olds, because very difficult. And some went off to sleep, some put their arms under their eyes, and some tried to distract themselves and kill the time. And after 20 minutes, the experimenter came back to the room and gave them 2 chocolates. They were happy. Now, what does this experiment show? Now, deferring our gratification, important. Now, to achieve higher goals, we have deferred the immediate needs. Now, these children were tracked down to high school. Let's say that was about 18 to 20 years. It was a follow-up longitudinal study which was conducted. And later on also, when another study was conducted on the same children, it was found that those children who could defer their gratification at the age of 4 can still defer their gratification for higher goals. And they were much more successful than the ones who immediately wanted the chocolate, or immediately could not wait for to satisfy their needs. So this is a very important experiment conducted on this, and this shows the level of motivation. Yeah, next please. Next is the empathy. These 3 dimensions which I have referred to earlier are the part of personal competence. Now these two are going to be on the social competence, because in this we are requiring others also. We need to understand the emotions of others as well. Now, empathy, we all understand, it is understanding others. How well we can understand others is empathy. Now, it is not only understanding others, but also developing others, sensing the abilities of others, sensing the others' needs. Then also providing services to the ones who really need your help. That would be compassion. Compassion is more than empathy. So one needs to be compassionate. And empathy is very essential in order to handle relationships, because you can understand others very well through empathy only. And then leveraging diversity, cultivating opportunities through different kinds of people. Yeah, next please. Political awareness is another yeah, example of empathy. Now, just to give you a simple example in our daily life, what happens when a child cries, a small child cries? If there is a group of children, 4 5 children, if one child starts crying, the other child also starts crying. Why? This is empathy, because the other child also feels the same thing as the other child is feeling. So this is kind of empathy. When we watch a movie, we start crying. We have tears in our eyes. We feel depressed. We feel happy. We feel, so many emotions are there. I can name. So this is another example of empathy. Two giant brokerage houses merged. There was redundancies. One manager calls employees and tells them that so many will be fired. The other manager promises all help for retraining, relocating of employees, and promises all help. The second manager becomes a strong leader. So empathy helps in retaining talent. When good people leave, they take the company's knowledge with them. Coaching and mentoring demonstrates empathy in action. So they are good leaders who can really handle the emotions of others well. Yeah. Next, please. Now, social skill is all about dealing with others, handling relationships with others, how social we are, how one is the influence, how well we can influence the others. That makes one person social. Communicating, listening openly, and sending convincing messages. This is very, very important. That is how we make our form our group. We make our teams, etc. Then conflict management, negotiating and resolving disagreements. Then leadership. Again, if you have good social skills, you can be a good leader. And then building bonds, nurturing relationships, then collaboration and cooperation, working with others towards shared goals, and then team capabilities, creating group synergy in pursuing collective goals. Yeah, next please. As I said, another dimension in this instrument has been added. This is internality and optimism. So, what is it? It is optimism refers to the causal attributions people make when confronted with failures or setbacks. Causal attributions, what do you attribute your success to? What do you attribute your failure to? So this is so important, that we attribute our successes to the permanent and failures to the temporary. Then a person is optimistic. So this is so important, that how do we attribute our what do you attribute your causal attributions? Yeah, next please. So, as I said, optimists have a tendency to make the specific temporary external causal attributions, while pessimists make global permanent internal attributions. So, this is an important aspect of optimism and optimist people. We can see so many examples also in our daily life, that we can see cancer patients also. Uh, if you can recollect from your life also, you will find so many people who had met some kind of accident or have cancer. If people are optimistic, they are able to recover from their miseries easily, from their setbacks easily. They are able to cope with their failures. But people who are pessimist succumb to their injuries. Yeah, next please. So in total, these are the 6 dimensions, and this instrument contains all these 6 dimensions on emotional intelligence. Yeah. Next, please. Now the question is, can EQ be developed? Let me tell you that IQ is more or less static. IQ will not change. IQ remains the same what you are born with. But emotional intelligence can increase and EQ can be developed. And as you mature, EQ becomes more. You can have more EQ. So yes, you can develop your EQ by upgrading your emotional skills. The popular thinking that is entirely inherited is incorrect. Emotional intelligence is not fixed at birth, so it is something one has learned. Now, EQ can be developed at any stage of personal or professional life. You can upgrade your emotional skills at any stage of your life. In fact, age and maturity are positively correlated with EQ. But with IQ, it is not correct because IQ, we cannot develop our IQ. Uh, so, as I said, IQ, normal IQ is between 90 and 110. If you have an IQ above 110, it means you have a high QQ. You may find very few people with even high IQ of 120. Of course, people do have, but that is a rare. That is considered to be high IQ. But normal is 90 to 110. But if you have an IQ below 90, it is that is sub-average. Yeah. Yeah, next, please. Now, coming to the most important part, yeah, which is the scoring. Now, this instrument contains 48 items, and every item, every aspect has 8 items. So that makes it 48. And the scores range from 0 to 3, which is a 4-point scale. Maximum score you can have on one aspect, one aspect is a minimum is 0 and maximum is 24. And for the EI, the total you can have minimum of 0 and maximum of 144. Although, see, I will, because you don't have these scopes right now, as I can
May
understand.
I jump in for a moment there?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, all of you would have got a score that would have been multiplied by 4.17, right? So your SA, SR, INT, MO, and so on would have been multiplied by 4.17 because that converts it from 24 to a score of on a 100% scale, right? You would have got some numbers around. Typically, the numbers that I've seen from the calculations is anywhere between 50 to 90 and so on. So if you want to go back to these averages, you can just divide each of your scores by 4.17. You will get these numbers, right? High, this 21, 19, etc. You will get that by dividing it by 4.17. There is one calculation which I wanted this group to get a little hands-on. So I did not do that calculation. I have sent it. And, it is something that you guys can do to get a fair idea of how these things work, right? Unless you do it, you don't get a sense of it. So that is, add all your scores, all the 6 dimensions that you would have got, add all that, you will get a score anywhere between 400 and 600. Divide that by 4.17, right? You don't have to do it as I'm telling you, just make a note of it, right? Divide it by 4.17 and then multiply it by 0.7. If you do this, you will also get a percentage score on EI, on overall EI. I will repeat that once again. Add all your scores, the 6 scores that you have, divide that total by 4.17 and multiply that by 0.7. This will give you a score of EI. Now, if you don't multiply it by 0.7, then you can use this norm that ma'am has given of 60 to 78 and above 78, right? Now, really, it is not about scores. Please remember that these are all like mirrors, right? It depends on the mood that you were in at that point in time, the way you responded, and so on. So, if it comes out as low, it doesn't mean you are low, etc., etc. It just means your responses to the instrument at that point in time were low. If it works with you, wonderful. If it doesn't work with you, I always use this wonderful teaching by the Buddha, who said, don't take something just because I gave you or someone else gave you. Try it out. If you feel good about it, use it. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel right, throw it away. Right? I think a sense of well-being, sense of feeling good about things is the most important in life. So take all instruments. Don't use instruments to get the better of you. These are just tools that are there to help you feel better, to get better. At the same time, if you find honestly being with yourself that, hey, this is one area that I'd like to get better in, talk to a few people, refer to the book. You'll find which are the items that you probably responded a little differently, and so on. So all these are absolutely I am okay instruments. These are not you are not okay, I am not okay, none of that stuff, right? So first have that confidence while you go into any of these scorings, right? And if you need help, you want to understand, you want ideas, I think this is the best way you can actually use ma'am's time, because ma'am has been doing this for years and years, right? And if you want, and she's also created this instrument, who better than the author herself to actually be there to teach us and give us tips. So if you have questions, right, what you can do is you can just pop it up on the chat. Hey ma'am, my let's say int internality around this is a little low. Give me a few ideas on how to improve it, and you'll be able to see that ma'am would be able to give you quite a few ideas that will take your scores and your practice in life, and really the richness of your quality of life way higher than what you've ever experienced it to be. The small little interruption there, sorry ma'am, jumped in. I'll hand it over to ma'am, and I'll also disable the PPT for now. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth, for explaining the scoring part so beautifully. But I would just like to add, just to simplify, because so many people would be new to this kind of, calculations and all that. Just for the audience, I would like to say that I have tried to simplify the scoring part in percentages. Now, because you have the percentage part so far, so let me tell you, the first one is self-awareness. Somebody was asking the abbreviations. Is self-awareness. Now, if you have a score of between 70 to 90, that means average self-awareness. And if you have a score of less than 70, it shows that you have a low self-awareness. And more than 90 is high. For self-management, which is the next one, 55 to 75 is average, and below 55 is low, and more than 75 is high. For internality and motivation, 65 to 85 is average, and below 65 is low, and above 85 is high, because we find that normally Indians have a very high on these dimensions. Now, all these, what I'm explaining, are based totally on the means and standard deviations of the previous data that I had. Now, motivation, again, the same, 65 to 85 is average, below that and above that is low and high. Now, for empathy, 47 to 67. If you have a score less than 47, it shows low empathy. And if you have a score of more than 67, it is high empathy. And last, social skills, 60 to 82 is average. So now you can look at your own scores, look at your own percentages, and see where you stand. Work on the areas where you are low. And of course, the more the score, the better it is. So you should have a high score on all these dimensions. If any question, yeah. Yes?
Shashi, would you like to share your questions? Share the
Okay,
questions.
so I have a
Yeah.
question, Siddharth, if I can ask.
Sure, sure. Ashutosh, you can actually come on video also. That would help.
Okay.
If that's not too
Hi.
difficult. Hi, Ashutosh.
Hi.
So, ma'am, I wanted to ask more on the internality on that front, and optimism on that. So, how do we, actually bring in about a change or a positive outlook towards it? That's the question that I have.
Yeah. So, yeah, Ashutosh, let it come from your side. What would you think? How can one be really optimistic? How can you change your attitude? How can you become more positive?
So, I mean, the way I was thinking, what I had a very positive thing towards the way I see it, but I would really like to introspect on that front, and that's why I wanted to hear from you.
Yeah. So, in order to become, one really needs to, uh, first of all, we should know what is optimism. Optimism is actually bouncing back from your setbacks, right? Yeah. If so, not remaining in your setbacks or your miseries for a long period. Now, attributing your failures to temporary causes. Now you should start thinking, if you fail in something, if you are not successful in something, start thinking in a way that no, this is next time, this is a temporary phase, I will succeed next time. But if you feel that no, I'm a failure, I will never, I'm not good at it, you start feeling that, then you will never be able to do it. So your attitude remains pessimistic. So start thinking, I can do it. Once in a day, at least 10 times, one should really say that I can do it. And try to work on the areas where you feel you are, you really need to improve your positive attitude. So, try to think that if the successes are there, that these successes are going to be permanent in my life. If you see failures in life, these failures are going to be very, very temporary. And let me tell you, it is not an overnight change. You cannot make an overnight change. You really you need to, and you really need to keep working on it. And if you really want tips, I can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Later, you can reach us and I will give you points in writing how you can really work step by step on it. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I would probably come back to you again with more questions around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shashi, would you have some other questions?
Well, yes. In fact, is there an ideal score that you would want to suggest that yes, this is where my emotional intelligence is, and this is the range which would define me as doing good in this aspect?
Range, I just mentioned the range.
Yeah, one. And is EI in any way related to locus of control?
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes,
Okay.
studies have also been conducted on that, although I have not mentioned the studies here, but many studies have been conducted on locus of control and emotional intelligence. If, if they want, I can, of course, later demonstrate some of the studies. Yeah.
Right.
The more you have locus of control, and the more is the EQ. So there is a positive correlation between EQ and locus of control. Yes.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. In fact, we have one more. We have Dinesh asking us, optimus is external cause attribution while pessimist is internal attribution. Could this be explained a little more?
Internality.
Yes.
Okay.
External, yeah. Optimists are those with external causal attributions, while pessimists have internal attributions. Could you
Yes,
explain
yes,
this?
yeah, yeah. Actually, there are two kinds of, I would say, factors: internality and externality. Internality is something you own the responsibility for. If you fail, for example, if I fail in an exam or I don't clear a competitive exam, I'm just giving you a small example. Some people may say that the competition was too hard, so that is why I failed. And some people may say that I did not study hard, so I need to put in more effort. See, getting my point? So there are two kinds of attitudes. One says that, no, I'm responsible if I have failed. The other will say, no, it is because of the external factors, externality. It is because of the teachers, because the competition was hard, probably the examiners were biased. So internal person, if you have an internality, you own the problem and you are going to work more hard. If you feel it is because of me that I failed, you are going to put in more effort. You are going to be more successful next time. Yeah.
All right, ma'am. All right. We have some more questions in terms of you know internality. How much importance do I give it in this overall scheme of things of EI?
I think if I talk about internality is a very, very important aspect, very, very important. In fact, we are going to deal with the internality, which is related to, of course, locus of control. We are going to deal probably in the next few sessions, we are going to take it up, locus of control, internality. But I would say it contributes very much to emotional intelligence. I would say it contributes a lot to your success also, because people, external people, what do? If the exams are approaching, if competitive exams are approaching, please don't take it otherwise. Nobody should take it otherwise. Some people will just keep going to the temples. Bhagwan, please mujhe pass kar dena, mera exam clear ho jaye. You know, they are they are not putting in effort, but they are, they rely totally on the God or whatever. So it is, if you are not making efforts. So internality plays a very vital role in your success. It is very, very important. Yeah.
Yes, we have one more question on how to work on increasing self-management.
On
self-management.
Self-management, yeah. In order to work on the self-management, either, there are a lot of tips I can give you, but one is that, let's say, for example, what kind of emotion, is it anger you want to have a control on, or is it hostility, or, depression? One thing is distracting yourself from this situation. Suppose you are becoming depressed for one or the other reason. Uh, Engage yourself in something which really interests you and keeps you busy. For example, let's say music, just an example, or you may be having many other hobbies. So distract yourself from other situations, engage yourself in situations, in things which keep you happy, which keep you busy. That is just one of the ways. uh, and of course you can reach me later also. I can, anybody who wants, 1 2 3 tips in writing, I can always do that. And because since we do not have so much of room here to explain. Yeah.
Got it. Got it, madam. Quite a few of them have actually asked questions on the logic of 4.17 and zero point 0.7, the multiplication. Siddharth has already clarified that. So, in the interest of time, people can scroll up the chat window to know that he's responded more than twice on that question. For the sake of time, I'm pushing forward on that just to clarify. There is also a question which is also getting repeated. Is there a suggested range for overall EI, high, average, and low, to which somebody has captured it as 60 to 78? Would you agree to that, ma'am? So that we move on.
Yeah.
All right.
But just to clarify, Siddharth has already explained. Let me tell you just, whatever scores we receive on any instrument, uh, we need to convert those scores into percentages up to 100. Because now this particular instrument is ranging, if you total all the scores are 144. You range up to 144. It is, without any division, without just adding up your scores for all the 6 dimensions. So it is a 144. Now we have, yeah. So
No, no, please go ahead, madam. Please go ahead.
for overall emotional intelligence, now we need to multiply uh, 144 by 100, and this is how we do the calculations. And of course, Siddharth and myself all can explain one to one also how we have calculated the scores and all that. But let me tell you, just make it clear one thing: whatever scores we achieve on any instrument, we need to convert it from 0 to 100, and we have ways to convert it, and that can be explained.
All
4.17.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, no. I was just acknowledging them. If you have anything else to add, please do. I'm sorry. I didn't intend to
No,
interrupt.
that's okay. So
Okay.
what we have done here is, like for one, I'll just give you example of one dimension. Like for one dimension, the total you can have is 24. Uh, 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 eight, yeah, 24. Because there are uh, eight questions, 8 items on one dimension, right? And we have a score from 0 to 3. 3 into 8 is 24. 24 is the maximum. So we have divided 100 by 24. That gives you 4.17. So in order to convert the score from 0 to 100, we have multiplied by 4.17. I hope I'm making it clear now.
Yes, you are, ma'am. You are. We have this question again.
But any more questions on that?
Yes.
Yeah, one to one.
We'll take two more questions before we wind up. And the penultimate question is: do you think some amount of externality is also required? Otherwise, we will accumulate lot of stress due to what is happening outside and for which we are not accountable for. It may also impact our emotional stability as well.
Very true. Very true. I think very important question. It is not only the internality which is important. We do need external factors are also important, but more important is the internal factors. Because suppose you are successful, then you are not attributing your success to the external factors. Now your parents have given you support. Your family has supported you to clear the competitive exam. Everybody. Then if you do not attribute to external factors, it means you are not giving any credit to your family, because they have not done anything. It's only me that exam. So external factors important to a certain extent. Yeah.
Yes, madam. And in fact, we have this question where if we have high score on all dimensions except SM, which is average, how to improve in that dimension?
SM, self-management.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been just talking about the self-management part. I think we've already answered.
We will. Yes. So we will move on to that. That brings us to the last question of the day. We have this gentleman asking: are there any guidelines of desirable scores that we can understand for role-specific EI or function-specific EI? So is there an EI that is prescribed for a marketing role, for an HR role, or something like that, right? So that's the question that's coming in.
Not as such, not specifically, but yeah. But as I said, EQ can be developed. One important part of EQ is that it can be developed. It is not that we cannot develop our emotional skills. So we need to develop the emotional skills in order to develop EQ. So that is going to help you to cope with the managerial skills in different organizations, and you have to find your own way how you can really handle the situation. What is emotional intelligence? handling situations in a in difficult situations, also handling difficult situations. How you really cope is your own way, because people handle different situation, handle one situation also differently. You have to devise your own method of coping with the situation. Yeah.
Right. And we have an observation. I thought I was average on EI, and the total score also came as average. However, the individual dimensions are all low. I mean, it is just a realization that I will need to revisit the questions and introspect on my answers. This reflection is also endorsed by a couple of other participants. I thought I will amplify that and mention it here for the benefit of all participants.
I think probably your low scores could be, on the just on the borderline average. I think you
Right.
might be having just on the borderline. They may
Right.
not be very low. That is what I feel. That is what I feel. And yeah, and now what you can do just to calculate your emotional average emotional intelligence score, just total up the percentages of what you have received. Find out the average of the 6 dimensions that you have. That is going to give you your average emotional intelligence. So you are going to, the, the, the average I was talking about goes belongs to a different group. Now you can calculate your total EI by finding out the average of 6 aspects and see where you are. Okay, so your EI would be definitely different. It is not the same as what I said, but you can just find out your EI. It would be different from what I said. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And on that note, in fact, I have one participant who's asking if, see, I believe some of you have the older versions of the training instruments in HR and OD. Friends, the least that you could do in terms of an investment for this course is to take the latest edition, which is the 4th edition that is available on Kindle. Amazon, it's available on Amazon. Delivery may not be possible due to lockdown, but you could at least go for a Kindle version. But I just want to encourage you people to buy this book that will act as your reference material. I know some of you would want to take just those pages of this instrument, right? Dr. Surabhi is showing it on the screen as we speak, and that's the cover. So in case you haven't, some of you have already purchased. So we are not marketing this book, let me make it very clear, but we are only saying that this will act as a good reference material for you when you are undertaking this journey. Because I, for one, personally, when I started this course, even I had only the 3rd edition. I can show that, right? This is what I had, but there is there is a new version and I've already purchased it. So the least that you could invest for this program is to buy the latest edition, because not all the instruments that we will be talking will be available in the earlier editions, right? So from that perspective, I would encourage you to buy the book and encourage the author, which is Dr. Surabhi Purohit, than sharing material or you resorting to any kind of scanned version or photocopying version. That's a humble request, right? On that note, we have come to a close of this session on EI. And Siddharth, would you have some footnotes before we wind up for the day?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's quite a hectic instrument. It's a very busy instrument, and I would like to have one look at the scores and the questions if anyone has. Thanks, friends. Questions are over. We've already had 2 questions. Blah blah blah. I just want to wait and ask if there are further questions. Because what's really important, I mean, Professor Vedantan already pointed out, saying what's useful is to actually look at scores from the instrument. We'll have to see how to make that possible in a classroom setting. You got your scores and then you answered it. Maybe if you're really interested, then the only way that is possibly there is to pick up a book and photocopy the instrument for yourself to use it. We don't want to make electronic copies and send it. That's kind of not fair to the publishers. So while we are using this instrument for research and helping people, I think what's also important is to acknowledge the generosity with which Dr. Surabhi Purohit has open this up for a public kind of a program and help people benefit. So we are definitely trying to do the best that we can. And if you are really interested to kind of go deeper and figure out, hey, which item did you score less in, then probably picking up a copy of the book. I think it's I don't know, you'll have to pick it up on Kindle. That's probably the most cost effective route, and that will definitely give you visibility into your own scores, will give you item wise ability to do your action planning, and then take it forward to some kind of coaching if you are interested in. Right, you don't have to come back to us for coaching. There are enough number of people who should be able to help you, but as a user of the instrument, you should also be able to figure out things for yourself, and that would be some level of self coaching. I'd quickly ask ma'am if she has anything. Madam, you've been really super fast today in covering such a heavy instrument, and from Shashi and I, grateful thanks to you. Anything else, ma'am, to add at this point?
Some all those who have the older version, the instrument is named as Personal Profile Survey. In the older version, which Shashi was showing, the green book, it has by the name Personal Profile Survey. So if you really wonder where is the emotional intelligence scale, but in the new book it says emotional intelligence scale, but in the older version it is a Personal Profile Survey. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you very much, ma'am. In fact, I was searching for it in the older version. I'm glad that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
so I've heard of Siddharth, please.
Sorry, there is also one question which is there, Shashi. Sorry, I interrupted you. Which instrument can be used for hiring a new candidate? Dhruva, great question, but this doesn't have an answer. And the reason it doesn't have an answer is it depends on what you're looking for in a candidate.
Yes.
Right? There is no general purpose antibiotic, no paracetamol in psychometrics. Right? So if you're really looking for some help, Shashi and I are always here to help you out. You can send us a WhatsApp and reach out to us. We'll be able to probably help you sort out that particular issue that you're facing. It could be a very genuine issue. We are more than happy to volunteer our time to help you succeed in that. Shashi, you were saying something. Please, over to you. Please complete.
I mean, Saturday is all about light content. I was just trying to take a moment of light-heartedness. I was saying we know Shatabdi Express. Today we got a glimpse of Surabhi Express in terms of going through the session fast. But on that note, friends, have a great this thing. Training instruments in HRD and OD. That is the book. People are asking me in private what is the name of the book. Training instruments in HRD and OD. You mentioned training instruments and Dr. Surabhi Purohit. Google will give you all the options of where to buy and how to buy and what is the cost and things like that. So on that note, friends, thank you very much for joining in. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, please do write into us. Siddharth and I will be happy to take your questions and inputs. And until we come back next Saturday at 11 a.m., have a good weekend, recharge yourself, and have a great week ahead. Stay safe, stay spirited. God bless. Bye-bye.